Hi everyone, in this video I just want to record some writing advice that may be useful for writing assignments in my class and hopefully in others as well. So the purpose of writing is to share information. Maybe that sounds a little obvious, but I think this sort of it starts to inform how we do a lot of our writing. So one, shorter sentences are easier to read. Longer sentences sometimes are good for prose writing, for novels, for poetry, etc. But the purpose of our writing is to share information. Some writing obviously is meant to be beautiful, moving, etc., etc. But in general, we want information to be conveyed. That's what we're here doing. Bullet points and lists are great. They help organize and clarify information. I've seen people write bullet points to sort of outline their text and then turn it into a paragraph. That's probably a step in the wrong direction, to be honest. If you have a good list of bullet points that make sense and convey what you want to say, that's easier for your reader to follow. Do that. Show them that. A big one, this is not a murder mystery. Start with the most important point. That's often the conclusion. Don't tell your reader all the things you did in order to reach the conclusion. Don't build up or go in chronological order. Tell them the most important thing that they should know from your paper. Speaking of important things, have a clear thesis. Your paper should be making an argument for something. It should be clear what that something is. And this should often be, in the first paragraph. When you edit your paper, it should get shorter. And this is one that I think, in general, it's hard to practice. Most assignments in school reward you for writing longer papers. And so there's some sort of page length that you are trying to hit. Even in this class, I've had to give a rough page limit. I tried to make it a pretty broad one. I am very serious about not having your paper be over 20 pages. If your paper is under 12 pages and it says everything it needs to say, that's amazing. Ideally, you're probably going to draft a paper and it's going to be, closer to 20. You're going to write a bunch of stuff down and then you're going to edit it down and make it shorter, more to the point. Make sure that you're drawing out the key pieces that you want to convey and not burying them inside a bunch of unnecessary writing and verbiage that just sort of pads the word count with no additional value. So I also want to say, and this is something that I don't see used in papers frequently when they're turned into me, that I think should be, because again, it's really helpful for clarity, is something called a roadmap, where you just tell the reader what to expect. And so here I give an example. This is literally what would be in the paper. There are 3 ways that misinformation has shaped poverty policy in the United States. I give a list, 1, 2, 3. I give each one a name that's in bold. Public opinion. Public opinion has been shaped by common misperceptions about who is poor. And a 1-sentence tagline. And then later in my paper, I'll be able to say, I'll have a section header that says public opinion. And this way, people know at any given time where they are in their paper. I know that to expect that you're going to talk about 3 ways misinformation has shaped poverty policy. When I see 2, measurement, I'll know that I am on the second one. This again just makes it so much easier to follow when you've broken down the information in a way that is, very easy to tell what should I expect next, what section am I on, what is all of this leading to, and how does it all relate to each other. Papers need a clear outline. I'm not saying you have to write an outline before you write your paper. If you want to just write because it's easier for you to write and get things on paper, that's fine. But at the end, the outline should be apparent. And so this outline here in general, we should start with some sort of context section. That's going to have your thesis that we talked about. That's going to have your roadmap. Then you're going to have sections, however many you have. You're going to have a conclusion where you restate your thesis, give a summary of how you supported it through the various sections. And then in general, you should end with what are the next steps in this line of research. Choosing a topic. So this will be specific to this class, although for a lot of classes, I think the narrow it down advice helps. But first and most importantly, please choose something you're interested in. You'd be amazed at how much difference this makes, both for your experience writing it, but also in general for the quality of the final product and my experience reading it and grading it. You just will wind up writing a better and more interesting paper if you yourself care about the topic. There are ways this can go wrong. Like these are, again, policy process papers, not policy advocacy papers. So you should be writing about why a policy is in place or isn't in place, not why it would be good. There might be some relationship there. Like we'd like to think good policies are more likely to be passed, but good policies are both passed and not passed. Bad policies have been passed and not passed. Like this is not the only thing that goes into whether or not a policy is enacted. Once you choose something you're interested in, also make sure it's narrow enough. You're not writing a book, you're writing a 12-page paper. So if you try to write about immigration or climate change or poverty policy, that's a book topic. That is not a paper topic. And then it gives you some examples here. For climate change, instead do something narrower like electric vehicle charging infrastructure, tax code changes in the Inflation Reduction Act, state level energy portfolios. Whatever it may be, choose something that is much more specific and is a piece of that larger topic. Same with immigration or poverty policy. Make sure that you're choosing a piece of your overall subject that's more approachable for a paper this length. Citations. Always use them. Use a citation manager. I strongly recommend starting on that as soon as possible. The big three, as far as I know, are still Zotero, Mendeley, and EndNote. I use Zotero. There was probably a reason I made that choice many years ago. I no longer remember what it was. Any of the three of them are going to be completely fine, though. I believe EndNote costs money, although it may be free through the University of Kentucky. The other two are free in general. And then in terms of citation style, I do not care what style you use as long as it is consistent. I recommend using the style of your academic field. If you're a political scientist, use APSR. If you're an economist, use the style of American Economic Review. If you're a psychologist, APA, et cetera, right? So if you are none of these disciplines, choose a style that you like and go with it, as long as it is a common recognized style and you're consistent. All of the styles generally have all of the information that is required.